Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Hey Guys Laughing Out Loud back again with another video. Today's video is going to cover how to set up Steam to connect with your PlayStation 4 system. This video is going to be fairly long, so I would first like to recommend those of you who are short on time to click the YouTube gear icon located at the bottom right and increase the speed playback. I've also linked timestamps for each section in the description below. This setup will allow you to use the Steam software with a PlayStation 4, which provides extensive button remap options and the ability to use your controller of choice, such as the Steam, Xbox, and my personal favorite, the PS4 controller. However, before we begin, I want to cover the more common button remap options along with the pros and cons of each on the PlayStation 4. Now we'll start off with the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 does have a default button map option built into the system software and obviously is free. It's user-friendly, it's very easy to set up, and it can be turned on and off as needed. However, the cons to using this button remap option is the PS4 only provides one button remap configuration. There are no profiles. So what this means is you need to reconfigure your remap buttons for each game when changing games. And another issue with this is that the in-game button maps when navigating your system and game menus could cause you issues for your navigation as they won't match up with your in-game commands. The next con is you're going to be limited to just using a DS4 controller. And the final is you will not be getting any gyro aim motion control support when using the PS4 button remap option. Okay, now we're going to discuss third-party device dongles such as the Cronus Max and the Titan 1 and Titan 2. These devices provide full button remapping and automated scripts. They provide multiple button remap profile options. They support Xbox, DS4, and a few other third-party controllers. However, now getting into the cons, these devices I find to be fairly expensive, as the Cronus Max is $60, the Titan 1 is $65, and the Titan 2 is $150. Now, the profiles that these devices offer are limited to just a handful, roughly between 3 and 10 profiles. And profile swapping is not exactly very convenient. Now, some of these devices offer a controller button combo press in order to swap profiles. However, from my experience is I have only used the Titan 1 and Titan 2. I still found it to be very unuser friendly. The next con is these devices are considered illegal, meaning if caught, you could be banned from your game. Personally, I don't care. I don't condemn anybody using these devices, but you just want to keep that in mind. The next con is it does require the use of a PC for setup and integration. The final con is there is no gyro aim motion control support when using any of these devices with a PlayStation 4. Now let's cover the Steam software. The Steam software is 100% free. It's legal to use on all PC games. However, I'm not so sure how Sony would view this when using this with a PlayStation 4. It does provide extensive button remap options, provides unlimited profiles for your games, provides fast and easy profile swapping. There are no issues with in-game menu button mapping when using action sets in Steam. There's no scripting involved. It supports Steam, Xbox, and DS4 controllers and third-party controllers. There's full gyro aim motion control support for your PlayStation 4 games. I will say that again. There is full gyro aim motion control support for your PlayStation 4 games. The Steam software is user-friendly, but it can also be very difficult to use. So I'm going to kind of put this in a gray area of a pro and a con. If you are wanting just basic button remapping, the Steam software is very easy, very user-friendly, and that will fall more into the pros. However, if you're looking for more advanced button remapping, which is kind of where I fall in, it is a bit of a con because the learning curve on this software is very steep. And the final con is it does require a PC for setup and integration of Steam to use with your PlayStation 4. Okay, now that we've covered all that, let's briefly cover what you'll need in order to use Steam with your PlayStation 4. You're going to need a Windows 10 PC, a PlayStation 4 with a Sony network account, a Steam, Xbox, or DS4 controller, internet access. Speed can vary on games and setup of your choice. You're going to need the PlayStation 4 Remote Play software, the Steam software with a network account, the GloSC software, and the VDX Xinput software. Now, I'm going to be breaking this video up into 3 parts. part one is just going to be the basic how to set this up. Part two is going to be the PS4 video output options, and there are 3 of them. The first will be streaming through a PS4 remote play onto your PC, streaming through the Elgato capture card using instant game view on your PC, and finally streaming through directly to your TV. The third part of this video is not going to be mandatory. I just want to do a short demo gameplay of God of War using Steam with my PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, I'm not going to be walking you through the step-by-step process of installing every piece of software, but I will be walking you through the process of the basic install steps, which is self-explanatory. If you have any questions or concerns, please direct them in the comments section below. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, this is part one of the Steam software setup for the PlayStation 4. I'm going to assume for those of you who are watching this video that you already have a Windows 10 PC, a PlayStation 4 with a network account, internet access, and a controller of choice. For this demo, I will be using my DS4 Pro controller. So we're going to start out by covering the download, install, and setup process for all the required software. The software download links can be found in the description below. So the first step that you want to do is you want to download the Steam software, the PS4 remote play software, the GloSC software, and the VDX Xinput Software, which, as you can see in this folder here, I've got my Steam software, the PS4 remote software, and the GloSC software, and the VDX Xinput software. So you want to start out by installing the Steam software and setting up your network account. After you've done that, then we want to go ahead and install the PS4 remote play software and set up the network account for that. Then after you're done doing that, go ahead and install the GloSC software and go ahead and run the setup for that, which I will go ahead and do for you here. So when you run GloSC for the first time, this is the window you're going to get, and it's going to walk you through the setup process. I'm just going to go ahead and click through next on all these. Okay, then after you're done doing that, we want to go ahead and hit Create New. And what we want to go ahead and do is just call this PS4. You can name it whatever you want, doesn't really matter. Go ahead and check mark Launch Game. Then go to your Browse option, click that, and you'll get your Browse configuration window here. And we'll go ahead and go to our Sony folder, go to the PS4 Remote Play folder, go to the remoteplay.exe, we'll go ahead and select that. And after that is set up, go ahead and hit Save. Now you have a remote play profile for your GloSC. Next, you want to go ahead and hit Add All to Steam. And what this is going to do is it's going to create shortcuts that will be added to your Steam software. And it's going to go ahead and prompt you to restart Steam. So we're going to go ahead and hit Yes. It's going to give you a warning about the controller bindings. Don't need to worry about that. Just waiting for Steam to restart here, and there we go. Okay, and then we can scroll to the games section here, and we have our remote play. Now, I do want to point out one thing about this link. I recommend that when you set this up, go ahead and rename it right away, if you decide you want to rename it. The reason why you want to rename it is if you decide to start making profiles within your Steam configuration and you save a bunch of profiles and then you rename it later, those profiles are going to get lost. So go ahead and rename it now if you want to do that. You don't have to rename it though. So I've gone ahead and renamed mine. Going to go ahead and add this to my consoles. All right, so now that is done, we can go ahead and close our GloSC. That's all set up. And now what we can go ahead and do is we can go ahead and launch our PS4 Remote Play from Steam by clicking play. All right, so now the software has launched, assuming again you've already linked and set up your account. The first thing you want to do before you go forward is go into your settings button here, and you want to configure your settings here. Now, if you're running a PlayStation Slim, go ahead and set your resolution to high, which is 720p. I'm on a PlayStation Pro, so go ahead and use best 1080p for the PlayStation Pro. And then for the frame rate, you can go ahead and set that to high for the PlayStation Pro. For the PlayStation Slim, set that to standard. Then after you're done doing that, go ahead and hit OK. And we're all set up there. I'm going to go ahead and minimize Steam. We don't need that anymore. Now what we need to do is we need to actually connect the controller to our PS4 Remote Play. Now in order to do that, what we're going to need to do is we need to launch our VDX X64.exe, which is our VDX Xinput, and that is this application right here. So what you're going to want to do is, it's defaulted to the Xbox 360 controller. We're going to click the drop down. We're going to select DS4 controller. We're going to hit connect. Connection established. And now our controller is linked through Steam to connect to our PlayStation 4 through the PS4 Remote Play. Yeah, I know that's a lot. Okay, so now in order to connect to our PlayStation 4, we can hit our options button here. And it'll take about 30 to 45 seconds to connect if your PlayStation is in a sleep mode. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. You'll notice a little bit of a delay. Now it'll go ahead and kick in, and it's go ahead and connecting to my PlayStation 4. And just an FYI, I am connected using an Ethernet cable and not Wi-Fi. I've got this maximized, so I'm going to go ahead and unmaximize this so that way you can see everything on the screen. And I want to talk about the PS4 Remote Play menu bar, and we're going to go from the left to the right. So over here on the left, we have our DS4 controller battery life. We have our share button. We have our PS home button, our options button. We have a mic mute button, and then we have a full screen option. So I'm going to go ahead and go into full screen. And I wanted to go ahead and explain that because some of that gets cropped out in the video feed, so you won't actually see it. Now, because we're using the Steam software with our DS4 controller to connect to our PlayStation, the PS Home button will not function as it normally would if you were not using the Steam software, because if I hit it, it's going to bring up the Steam controller configuration. So that won't work. So we can access our home on our PlayStation by using a mouse and clicking the home button. So for example, if I were to go into the game, I'm in the game, I can control it. And if I want to go into my menu, my PlayStation menu, I have to click the home button. Now, one thing about the share button, you can either hit the share button on the menu bar or you can go ahead and use it off your controller. And I want to point out something about this. So because we're using the PS4 Remote Play software, it disables a lot of the sharing features. For example, you will not be able to record video or live stream. I do believe you can do like screenshots and things like that in case you try to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. And that's pretty much the gist of the software and the connection process. And as you can see, I am able to play and control with using my DS4 Pro controller using the Steam software configuration. Now, I'm not going to do a full demo here, but I do invite you to watch part 3 if you want to see this is actually working. And I do want to point out one last thing before I end part 1. The PS4 Remote Play software is not compatible with all PS4 titles. However, after doing research, I found that there is a very small percentage of games that are not compatible. So if you're like me and you bought the PlayStation 4 because you want to play the PlayStation 4 exclusives, you're not going to have a problem using this software. Okay, welcome to part 2 of the PS4 video output options using the PS4 Remote Play to PC. And I'm going to discuss the 3 various options that you have and why you'd want to use one or the other. Now, if you are using the PS4 Remote Play to a PC, some of the reasons why you may want to go ahead and use that is it will allow you to play your PS4 from a different room, so you will not need to migrate your PS4 system to wherever it is you want to play. So if you've got a computer in one room and your PS4 is in another room, you can just go ahead and remote log in and go ahead and play your games. Another reason why you may want to use the PS4 Remote Play to PC is you're actually able to live stream without a capture card, but just be aware that if you're going to do that, I mean, you're going to want to basically use like software programs like OBS or maybe the NVIDIA GeForce Experience, but the graphic visual quality is going to be quite low compared to using an actual capture card. So just be aware of that, and I will give that a demonstration on that in just a moment. The third and final reason why you may want to use the PS4 Remote Play to PC is you can basically run the PS4 Remote Play to PC, and you can run it on a low resolution and not even use that video output, and use the actual video output from your TV. So this basically gives you the ability to connect your DS4 controller through your PC to get the benefits of the Steam software, and you're able to play on your TV with HDR and 4K video. Now getting into the second option, which is the Elgato capture card, using the instant game view, and why you'd want to use that in conjunction with the PS4 Remote Play. Now, the main reason you'd want to maybe do this is it flat out is just going to give you a higher quality live streaming option. The quality from an Elgato capture card, when you're connected and streaming it directly to your PC, is going to give you a much better picture quality. And let me just go ahead and demonstrate that here. So the picture quality you're looking at right now is the PS4 Remote Play to PC. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to the Elgato capture card. I'm going to go ahead and maximize it. And you may or may not notice it with this particular recording, the difference in the graphic fidelity, but it is much better. It's much clearer. You're not going to get any artifacting whatsoever. And if you rotate the camera around, it's just a much cleaner image than what you'd get from the PS4 Remote Play. So the next thing I want to discuss is the option in regards to streaming directly from your PS4 to your TV, and you're still using the PS4 Remote Play software. And why you'd want to use that is basically if you're not going to be doing any live streaming, but you still want to reap the benefits of the Steam software configurations, then you can just run the PS4 Remote Play software on a PC, maybe on a second monitor off to the side so you can actually access it when you need to, and game on your 4K TV. And this also opens the options of being able to run it in HDR. Those are kind of the three video options that what you want to maybe use with the PS4 Remote Play, because you will need the PS4 Remote Play in order to access the benefits of the Steam button remapping with the PS4 system. Now I want to just go ahead and give a quick side-by-side comparison of the PS4 Remote Play to PC and the Elgato capture card. So if you notice here, I've gone ahead and unmaximized it. On the left here, this is the PS4 Remote Play. On the right is our Elgato capture card. Now, if you're just looking at the image right now, you don't notice a lot in the graphic fidelity. They're very close, and which is really cool. That just shows how good that the PS4 Remote Play is, until you start to actually get into fast action gameplay. Now, if you look at Kratos's scalp, that's probably one of the better places you'll notice some artifacting, and you'll notice it on the image on the left with the PS4 Remote Play. Now you don't see it right now because I'm pretty much stationary, but as I start to rotate my camera, you notice the one on the left is going to start exhibiting some artifacting, while the one on the right, which is the Elgato capture card, is crystal clear. It is a very clear image. And then obviously the faster I go, the more artifacting occurs. Whereas, again, on the Elgato, it's crystal clear. So those are some of the reasons why you'd maybe want to go ahead and use the Elgato as far as being able to view for your live streams versus the PS4 Remote Play software. In regards to the latency and lag, it's pretty spot on. Don't seem to have any issues. If you notice, And I'm not doing a separate window capture. This is all, on the same desktop. So you can see if there's any latency or whatever. I mean, the streaming is pretty spot on when compared to a direct HDMI connection going into the Elgato. So that, the software is good. The main issue that you'll run into is the graphic fidelity with the PS4 remote play. But if you're okay with that, then yeah, it's good to go. Okay guys, welcome to part 3. This is going to be the final part for this video. And I'm going to be doing a brief demo of my Steam setup with my PlayStation 4. And the game I'll be playing is God of War. So first thing I want to kind of discuss is my profile. I have 2 action sets that I'll be using. The main menu, the first action set is going to be my default PlayStation console configuration. I use this for when I go into menu options like the map, the journal, the gear, and things like that. And my other profile, or excuse me, action set, the 3D.DS4, that's my in-game actions. And I use this basically for when I'm in my game. And this particular profile has multiple button presses and shift layers and things like that. So that won't work too well when I go into my menu options. So that's why I have the 2, and I just kind of toggle between the 2 as needed. So I'm not going to do a full breakdown on how everything's set up, but I'll just kind of, kind of show that it is actually working and what I'm using. So first off, because my rear buttons on the back are black and they're very hard to see, and because of the way I'm holding my controller, it is going to be difficult to see. So please use the reference images on the left and right to understand my button mapping for the controller, because that is going to reflect on what you're going to see for the face buttons within the Steam software. On where would be my B button, I have my light attack. And normally the way the light attack works is if I press this button, it's going to execute a single light attack. So I just press it, and in order to get multiple attacks, I got to spam it. I've actually got to spam it. But the beautiful thing about the Steam software, one of the things, is it offers turbo. So now instead of spamming the button where I have to hit it over and over again, I can now just hold it, and it's going to repeat that single light attack. And I've also done the same thing with my heavy attack. I have my heavy attack bound to where my Y button would be. So if I hold that down, I'm going to get a turbo heavy attack. And where my X button is, that is going to be my shield. So I can just press that. That's pretty basic. There's nothing real special about that. However, I do have that on an action layer. And with the action layer, I actually have it shift over to non-turbo buttons so I can execute my special abilities as needed. So I can basically hold my shield button, and then I can go ahead and hit my special ability. Like I have an ability set to the A button here. So if I hold the shield and I rock my thumb down, it goes ahead and does one of my abilities. And same thing if I hold the shield down and I go ahead and hit my B button. It's kind of hard to do with the front face buttons. I execute my second ability. And I also have one on the third, but I'm using different enchant right now, so I don't have an ability to activate at the moment. And that's all on its own action layer. So as soon as I release my shield, these buttons go back to being the normal turbo as they once were. Now this bottom button, which I haven't discussed yet on the default, is actually a 180 turnaround button. So if I press it, I get a 180 turnaround. But I have multiple, this is actually a multi-function button like some of the other buttons. So if I press it once, I can do a simple 180 turn. But I also want to be able to dodge with that button. So I set that up on turbo. So if I hold it down and I hold to the left, I will repeat dodge. If I hold to the right, and all I'm doing is I'm just holding that single button down, and it will repeat dodge with turbo. And of course I can do forward, back, and normally you'd have to spam this button. I'd have to spam it, and I'd have to hold hold the left stick in the direction I want. But with this, it saves me the hassle of having to spam, because I don't particularly like button spamming. Call it lazy. That's just how I am. Okay, now I pretty much covered all the face buttons except for one other ability, or one other function. And one of the main reasons why I really love the Steam software is this software, using the Steam software, allows us to use gyro motion aim control support, which is not native on the PlayStation 4. So what I can do is, if I hit my Y button, instead of holding it, because if I hold it, I get the turbo for my heavy attack. And there is whenever you have it set, it's actually going to be set to what is known as a long press, but I've turned down the long press to the lowest setting, which matches the animation. So there really isn't a big difference when you're executing your combos. So the regular tap is going to take me into my axe mode, and now I have gyro support. Now the gyro support isn't the best. I'm still working on tweaking it, but as you can see, I can actually aim a little bit with the gyro. But since, and if you watch my Assassin's Creed Steam profile video, I discussed the differences between using the console and the keyboard and mouse, and why keyboard and mouse is a better setup. But we can't use that with this, because we are actually playing on a console and it would not accept the mouse input. It'd be great because we get a lot more options in regards to our gyro motion control than what I'm getting here. But even though I'm only getting a little bit of motion, it's still helpful, because now what I can do is I can use my right thumbstick and I can go ahead and do my basic aiming as I normally would. And then with that, I can now kind of use the motion controls and the thumbstick to kind of just help with the aiming. So it's really cool. And just to kind of prove that I am using gyro motion controls, I'm not holding any buttons, I'm just holding the controller. Now there's not a lot of movement, as you can see, and the accuracy isn't the best, but that's mainly because probably because of the software in regards to the console. If you were doing this on PC, this wouldn't be an issue. And what I actually have set up is, with this Y button, if I press it once, it puts me into my aim mode for my axe. And now this is a completely different layer. So now if I press my light attack, I press it once, it fires off my light attack to send my axe, and then I press it again, it retrieves it. So what that'll allow me to do is I can kind of spam it, but I can't put this on turbo. And the reason why is because if I were to put this on turbo, the axe would only go so far and then retrieve, and it might not be far enough to hit my target. So I've got to throw it, let it hit its target, and then hit it again to retrieve it. But I can spam it if I want. If I want to sit here and press it, I can't hold it and do a turbo, but I do have control over it, which is really cool. And then of course, I can use the gyro for the aiming. And also, normally I'm not going to be using the face buttons, because obviously I can't do that and control my camera, and the gyro is not enough, which is the beautiful thing about using a Pro controller, because you have the rear button, you have the front face buttons mapped to the rear here, just like seen on the images on the side. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and use my thumbsticks for straight up control. I can go into aim mode, and I can go ahead and aim with the thumbstick and use the motion control, and it allows me to get pretty good control over aim. Now I'm still kind of practicing with this, because this is the way I used to play before I improved my gyro aim controls on the Steam software. What I'm using now is actually much better than this system. This was initially what I started with, but this is still really cool and is going to be very helpful playing this game, because you wouldn't get this at all. Normally, you'd have to play just with the thumbstick, and I played with that for the first 10 hours of the game, just to see, to challenge myself and to see how difficult it was. And this particular game isn't that bad because you're throwing an axe. It's got a very large hitbox. And normally anything you're targeting also has somewhat of a large hitbox. So if you're stuck just using the aiming with your thumbstick, it's not that bad. But the gyro just adds that little bit of extra kick. And for those of you who want to say, well, it's cheating or whatever, you're still having to control it. You're just using motion controls to do it. It's not like it's an automated script and it's doing the targeting for you. You still have to, have some skill to do it. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic controls. One other thing I want to mention is normally in game with God of War, you have 2 speeds of movement. You have your standard walk, and then if you press a little bit more, you get a jog. Now, so you get those 2 speeds, but and if you want to sprint, you usually have to either hold down the L3 button or remap it to within the software, within the game software, to a button that you can press and hold while you're moving forward to get your sprint option. But Steam has a really cool feature where you can actually set the sprint option to the outer ring binding radius. So what that means is whenever I move my thumbstick and it accesses the outer ring, it's going to activate that button press. Now, I did go ahead and maximize the outer ring binding radius to the maximum, so that way I get 3 speeds from my analog stick. So I get my walk, then I get my jog, and then I get my sprint. Okay guys, that's the end of this video. You know what to do. Like, dislike with a nice middle finger. Leave questions, comments, constructive criticism below. Newcomers, feel free to subscribe, and trolls are always welcome for a good laugh. If any of you found this information to be a benefit and you are so inclined, I have a PayPal donation link in the comments below. Donations are never expected, but are always appreciated. And as always, keep gaming, guys.